Hi Ashi, hope you are doing great in this new year. And
Yeah, hi, Srijan. Happy New Year to you too. And I'm doing great.
yeah, okay. And so would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so hello guys. So I am Aashi and currently I'm a third year student at National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. And I'm doing my engineering in information technology branch. So today I'm here to give you a brief about C4GT, which is an open source mentorship program in which I participated last year. And majorly my tech stack is related to backend technologies. And it was the same tech stack in which I contributed in this program.
So great introduction. Okay, so you guys have come to know that we are going to talk about C4GT in this episode. So C4GT actually sounds like something hacking or something
Mhm.
tricky. So what is actually C4GT in this open source domain? So would you like to tell the audience about that?
Yeah. So C4GT, it stands for Code for Gov Tech. It is a fairly new open source program compared to the other open source programs that we have. Like the last year which I participated was the second edition only.
Mm,
So it is organized by Samagra governance. And what is
okay.
special about this program is that it is a program in which DPGs are there. DPG are digital public goods. Like
Okay.
for example, I can give like Aadhaar we have.
Hmm.
That is a DPG, means the
Okay.
goods which are under the government of India. So all
Okay.
the organizations that are there in this program are basically running by the government, under the government, or something like for the government.
Okay.
So it is basically the public sector organizations. So that's what
Mhm.
makes this program special also, because the organizations that are there, like you won't find them in any other open source program. And it is a different experience, like Aadhaar is there. Like you are
Mhm.
contributing under it. So yeah, so that is what basically this program is about.
Okay. So as people have heard about GSOC, LFX, and all those things, so those are
Hmm.
in the private domain, and similarly, you have
Yeah, this is the public
COGT in the
domain
public
basically.
domain for India.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, so in which time of the year does the application open for this?
Yeah, the applications we start opening in April, and in April, May we have the like contribution period.
Okay.
And after that, like in around May only, I think it is announced. The results are
Okay.
announced, and then in June, July we have the coding period. July, August. I think, but in this time, in this year, we'll have a 3 month coding period.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
rule keeps on changing with each year. Okay.
Yeah. That's
Okay. So the most important or interesting question, what's the stipend offered in this program?
yeah. So the about the stipend part, like I was given like 1 lakh for 2 months. That is the
Okay.
stipend for this.
Okay. And just tell about tell the audience about the type of projects or the tech stacks of the projects. Like in GSOC, we see variety of those projects in
Yeah.
the open source domain. We have projects from TensorFlow, Dart, and all those things. So, what
Mhm.
kind or category of organizations and projects take part in this program?
So like similarly in GSOC, this also like we have almost all the technologies.
Okay.
Like you will go, so there are almost like 108 projects were there last year. So like
Okay.
they were covering all technologies. Like you have all the front end technologies, you have all the back end technologies. Like I myself, I contributed under the project which was in the Elixir language. And
Okay.
I did not even heard about this language before I started contributing. So yeah, like the tech stack is very vast. You will find whatever is your tech stack, you'll find a project related to it and you can contribute to that.
Okay. So you mean there we here we are here also we have the diversity of the tech stacks of the
Yeah.
project. So if there is a person who doesn't know, let's say about the Elixir language, so he
Hmm.
or she might end up jumping into some other project which is related to maybe React or Next.js, which
Yeah.
is heard by people in these days.
Yeah. So like yeah, there are a variety of tech stack. So you can like find whatever project matches your tech stack and you can contribute to it. And even if the tech stack is new, the
Mm.
mentors are really, supportive in there. You can learn the tech stack in that 1 month contribution period. So like I would suggest people to like find a new tech stack. Like whatever
Okay.
we know it is good, but like sometimes
Mm.
finding a new tech stack may do good. And like I myself went into this Elixir tech stack because less people were contributing in that tech stack.
Okay. So
because it
less
was
people
slightly
means
a
less
newer one.
competition actually.
Yeah, so there was a less competition. If we'll go in a React tech stack, we'll already
Okay.
find like hundreds of people are already
Yeah,
contributing them.
right.
So
And
that's a better.
one point you mentioned about we should always try to learn something new. That's a very good point in terms of software engineering because if you are knowing the
Mhm.
technology, that's okay, you are very comfortable with it. But when
Yeah.
you go and pursue your career in the software development domain, you will always find
Mhm.
new technologies. Maybe you can find some very old tech stack that you might not have heard even about that. So you need to adjust to those at the moment. So if you have the
Yeah.
habit of contributing to new tech stacks or something which is new to you actually, so that will actually make you comfortable with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
coming to the contribution period for which the future
Mm.
applicants need to focus most on this part,
Mm.
contribution period or the main application procedure. So the first process is the contribution period, which is up to your willingness. So please explain the audience about this particular period.
Yeah. So, like the first part is the contribution period. So, like you need to prove to the organization in which you are willing to participate that yes, you can do their work. So, that is where the contribution period comes in. So, what I would suggest is just filter out 2 or 3 organizations which fit into your tech stack, whose mission align with your vision, and
Hmm.
then you can join their Discord channel. Like we have a Discord channel with all the
Right,
organizations. When you
right.
go in the C4GT channel, and then you can message there, you can ask the mentors about what are the good first issues. You can
Hmm.
set up the whatever application is there in your local, and you can start contributing to the good first issues which are there, which are
Okay.
fairly easy for the new
Hmm.
people. Like you can do some documentation changes, and you can understand the code base. So in this contribution period, you can understand the code base on your level, and also you can prove to the organization that yes, you are willing to work in their project. And I fairly think that those people who skip this contribution period, they like don't even get selected. Like
Okay.
many organizations, they don't even read their proposals if they have not done any contribution. Like it happens. So this
Okay.
is the most important period. Like some
Hmm.
contribution should be there from your side, then only your application will be taken seriously.
Okay. So the scenario is quite similar to GSOC where we start
Peace out. Yeah.
contributing 2 or 3 months earlier than the proposal period.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any harsh or hard limit to the number of organizations you can contribute in this period?
Yeah, you can contribute to any number of organizations, but you can submit, I think, maximum 3 proposals.
Okay.
So just keep
Okay.
it to that only.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's focus on the main part since you said that it's the most important part of the selection procedure. So how can one actually start contributing? Let's imagine a scenario where you go to a
Mhm.
organization's repository of some project
Mhm.
and you search for the good first issues. So let's say that happens. All the good first issues have been assigned to some other people, and right
Mhm.
now no good first issue is open. But the contribution period has begun, and you have to make the most of it. So, how you will tackle that situation, or to whom you will contact, or what you will do actually there?
See, the first thing is that we have to set up that repository in our local. So
Okay,
this is where your first contribution will also come in. Like try
okay,
setting up your repository, and whatever issues you might face, you can update
okay,
their README. So that can be your first contribution. Like my first
hmm,
contribution was also README contributions. Like
okay,
whenever you are setting up, because many organizations, they don't have a well-defined README structure.
hmm, hmm,
So you can do that. And after that, if the good first issues are already assigned to everyone, then
hmm,
you can just go and ask the mentor for any other kind of issue. And in many cases, like there are people or there are
hmm.
organizations who assign one issue to 2 people also. So
Okay,
you
okay,
can look into that. And if you get in contact with the mentor, he or she will look for some another issue for you.
okay,
So what you have to just do is you have to just do constant messaging. You have to show your constant presence that you are there, and then the mentor will definitely assign you some issue.
okay. So here, being active on the Discord channels is the main key
Yeah,
or the hack for this problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's say that you have started contributing.
Mhm.
So how up to what depth or how serious the contributions are taken or regarded for the selection procedures by the mentors. Like even a function would do, or you have to make heavy backend contributions. So up to what extent they need.
I don't think contributors look for very heavy contributions in this period. Like the mentors, they won't expect you to do the entire project in this period. What
Mm-hmm.
they want you is that yes, you have got a understanding of the tech stack and etc. So you can contact your mentor, and I think even solving some minor issues would do the work here. Like it
Okay.
is not necessary that you have to create some heavy backend contribution or some really
Mm-hmm.
vast contribution. That is for your coding period part. You
Okay.
just have to show that you know the tech stack, you know the basics. So I think even some minor contribution would result in a great change in your application.
Okay. So those contributions can also include related to README or documentation
Yeah,
contributions.
sure. I
Okay.
think one should start with those only because that gives you a fairly good understanding of the code base.
Okay. And what in case, like if I am trying to uh, run the project on my local machine, but
Mm.
it doesn't run actually. So are there people available on Discord channel to help you at that moment only?
Yeah, surely you can just like in that organization channel, the people will definitely help you. Just post
Okay.
your whatever error you are getting, just post the screenshot, etc. And they'll either connect to you via a meet or something and they'll solve your issue.
Okay.
But you have to tell your issue. For that, you have
Mhm.
to at least try running first. But yeah, they are very helpful in this
Okay.
respect.
So what I can think is like the process is quite smooth and you won't end into some mess ups and finally
Mhm.
quitting the part. Explain the audience how one can create a very good proposal which can impress the mentors and what all points or sections one should include, whether one should include graphs, charts, tables, what if one should take care about in the proposal part.
So in the proposal part, firstly, the problem should be explained clearly. Like whatever
Okay.
problem statement is there, it should be
Hmm.
explained properly. Because the first thing they look into is that do you understand the problem?
Okay.
Then second, whatever approach you think, just
Hmm.
break it into points and write it. And if you
Okay.
can provide any supporting code for that or any supporting thing that you have done, any screenshots, that would be really
Hmm.
helpful.
Okay.
Also, if you have done any kind of contribution to highlight them in the proposal, like any
Okay.
PRs, if you have made any issues you have
Hmm.
raised, that will give
Right.
a really good impression that yes, you have contributed. Like, even if you are contributing to another organization and making a proposal for another, so you can mention the another organization also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that will really elevate your proposal than all
Hmm.
others which are just like giving the approach. And
Hmm.
try to keep it short. Like don't make it too detailed.
Hmm.
Try to keep it short and as to the point as possible.
Hmm.
But yeah, try to include some examples of like how you can implement. Like if it is something using databases, try to include tables and everything. Include charts
Hmm.
also. Make it like good to read and keep it
Okay.
as formal as possible.
Okay. So on average, how many pages it should be?
I think it depends a lot on organization also. Like you have to ask your mentor. Many of
Okay.
the organizations don't pay much attention to the proposal. Like
Okay.
they are just focusing on your contribution, but many are focusing on your. So if an organization doesn't much taking the proposal in consideration, then I think 10 pages are enough. But there are some organizations who are just doing solely based on a proposal also. So at that time, I think max 20 pages. Just don't go
Okay.
beyond that. That is a good ratio.
And in this proposal part, does your GitHub profile and personal portfolio play a major role?
Yeah, I think GitHub profile and personal portfolio should be added in it because they'll open it definitely and see. Like if you
Hmm.
have any projects, include them in your portfolio. And if Git on GitHub profile, like also in GitHub profile, we have the README for a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
also. So
Right. Right.
like try to make it a bit appealing. Just don't keep it simple. So that shows
Hmm.
that you are more into open source, more into contributing.
Yeah. So it kind of gives the first impression to the person
Yeah,
opening the
first
profile.
impression.
Let's come to the third part, the final part. How much time is taken between the
Mhm.
submission of project proposal part and the emails of the interview come? So what time in between is there?
I think there was like about a week at my
Okay,
time.
a week.
About a
Okay.
week time was taken. And
Mhm.
interviews are like not taken by every organization. It depends on the organization that they want to take an interview or not. For
Mhm.
example, my organization took an interview.
Okay.
So many people they received an invite,
Mhm.
an email invite, I think after 1 week of the proposal.
Okay. So yeah, tell us about the interviews. Like up to what depth do they go in the tech stack of the project to which
Mhm.
you have submitted the project proposal?
Mhm. So my interview was, I would say, like I knew the mentor already because like
Okay.
I had met him many times on Google Meet and etc. during my
Okay.
contribution part. So it was
Mm-hmm.
fairly easy. What they asked me was like some basic questions, like how far I am into contributing, do I understand their motive, mission, etc. Also,
Mm-hmm.
like they have given me certain coding exercises on a site called Exercism, like
Yeah.
it is for Elixir. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they asked me to practice Elixir there. So they just
Okay.
made me open one of the questions that I've already solved and asked me to explain how I solved it.
Okay.
So this was what I was asked in my interview. And rest it was fairly easy. I think it was just like half an hour interview.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mostly asking me about what is the organization's goal, do I understand their UI, what are the improvements they can make in their UI. So it was fairly conversational.
And were there any behavioral or HR type questions also?
No, I was not asked any HR type questions.
Okay. So only one interview was there for you.
Yeah, only one interview was there.
Okay. And how much time is taken between the interview conducted and the final selection mail coming?
4 days. Like
Okay.
I got a mail after a week, but the results were organized on the Discord channel in 4 days only.
Okay. Okay. So after you got the selection mail, so began the contribution period, the main contribution period to the project.
Yeah.
So would you like to tell us about the project? What was the motive of that project? What tech stack did you work on apart from Elixir and everything about it?
Yeah. So I contributed in an organization which was called Glific.
Okay.
So what Glific is, it is a WhatsApp based messaging system for NGOs specifically. Like they
NGOs.
focus,
Okay.
making the communication for NGOs really easy. So they have this
Okay.
whole framework where NGOs can provide flows, triggers, many other things. So
Okay.
I worked on their backend part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like my project was basically there were several problems in their backend, several issues were there. So I was
Okay.
given them and I was asked to solve them one by one. So this was my basic project. So for coming to the tech stack, I worked on Elixir that I already specified. For the
Mm-hmm.
APIs, I worked on GraphQL,
Okay.
and then I worked fairly well on databases also. Like all the backend technologies came into play one by one. I worked with Postman also. I worked with another API called Bruno also. So that
Okay.
was there. And it was mostly the backend part only. I was looking into different kinds of issues for that. There were several issues. I was also looking into the payment gateway that is there for them.
Okay.
So I took part in that also. So it was like a very diverse work that I did there. All
Mm.
was related to the backend development. Like my organization, they took up many people. Like they took up almost 7, 8 people under C4GT, and out of that, 4 were working with the front end team and 4 were working
Okay.
with the backend team. So
Okay.
that was how the bifurcation was done.
And during the contribution period, were there any fun meetings or non-technical activities also?
Yeah, like the organization that I worked for, they invited me to a sprint also in Udaipur,
Okay.
and I got to meet, like that was different for all organizations. This was
Mm-hmm.
specifically what my organization did. All the contributors they were invited to an all-paid trip to Udaipur, and
Okay.
there we met our mentors. There we met many people from the organization. Like it was quite a
Mm-hmm.
fairly big organization. We met
Mm-hmm.
fairly new people. They took us to all the places there. So it was really fun activity.
Yeah, so that would have been a great experience for you. How was the overall experience taking participating in this C4GT?
Yeah, I would say it was a great experience. Like before that, I have never like I always wanted to contribute under this open source, but I was never into it. But like
Mm-hmm.
getting into this program, like it made me like I learned. I didn't even know how to like raise a PR before this, but
Okay.
then I learned everything. I learned about PRs. I learned about backend. I learned about how to actually contribute in a uh, actual code base rather than the project one. I learned about what
Mm-hmm.
is production, what is different environments, etc. So yeah, and there were mistakes also from my side. Several times I pushed the credentials to GitHub directly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I got to learn from all that, and yeah, I fairly developed my skills also and enjoyed the whole process also.
What changes did it bring in you in terms of personality development?
Yeah. So, firstly, though, the coding style.
Hmm.
It emerges a lot because when we practice and write in our local or in our project, we never pay attention to the coding style. We never pay
Hmm.
attention to is our code efficient. But whenever
Right.
I did in the organization and I wrote a bad code, my mentor would say this is not efficient. You can make it short, add documentation. So yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
coding style will and daily meetups are there. Like you
Hmm.
have to go to daily stand-ups, you have to inform about, you listen to other people, you meet with other mentors, you meet with other people who are contributing. So yeah, that gives a immense personality development also.
And some of the questions I forgot to ask, like from where did you hear about this C4GT? Because it's actually quite new.
Yeah, like my roommate told me about this.
Okay.
On Unstop, there was about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
announcement was there on Unstop. So yeah, she
Okay.
got to know about this. So she told me, and then I
The
participated in
question
it.
that I have in my mind is that is there any kind of foundation upon the contributor that if you are a part of C4GT or before becoming a part of C4GT, you have to make sure that you are not doing some work at some other organization or at some other corporate company. So is there some rule about that also here?
Yeah, yeah. There's a rule that if you are contributing under C4GT, then you cannot
Okay.
be interning or doing an internship with another program because you have to give I think there's a foundation of 40 hours per week.
Kind of review period. Like in GSOC, we have heard about there are two evaluation periods, the mid evaluation and end evaluation, and the stipend is given in those two terms. So is
Hmm.
there any similar or same thing here also?
Yeah, so there was a midpoint evaluation and there was an endpoint
Okay.
evaluation, and it was taken by DPG leaders. So you have
Okay.
to present your work. You have to
Hmm.
prepare a presentation. You have to prepare like a 10-minute presentation, and you have
Okay.
to present whatever you have done till midpoint, and then
Hmm.
they'll ask you some questions, and then at endpoint you have to submit your entire project. You
Okay.
have to show it. So after the midpoint, 40% of the stipend is given, and
Okay.
after passing the endpoint, 60% of the stipend is given.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll also get goodies in between.
Yeah. That's another good part of being in
Yeah.
such open source opportunities. Do you have any tips for the future applicants who would wish to take part in this year?
I think starting as early as possible and getting in touch with the mentors is the key to crack the program. Like you don't need a very good proposal. If you
Hmm.
already know the mentors, you have already contributed, then you will definitely get selected. So just start early and get in contact with your mentors as much as possible.
Oh, so yeah, that
Yeah.
was all, guys. We had Aashi Jain with us. Thanks, Aashi. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. So signing off, guys. Meet you in the next episode.